What's going on, everybody? I'm Joe with InkEnvy Apparel, InkEnvy Magazine. We're here with Lauren. I don't know how you say your last name.
Chalbeck.
Chalbeck. Is that like French? Swedish?
Swedish.
I know something, the way she said it. At her tattoo shop, it is called...
Monaree Ink.
I was never going to say that right. So we're just going to do a little interview with Lauren here, talk a little bit about some tattoos, kind of how she got started, and a little bit of the transition that went from artist to shop owner. And you can kind of, if you want to get into that, you can. If you don't want to get into that, you don't have to. But I thought it was a very interesting story when we had talked about how you transitioned.
Yeah.
Because you've been on the team for a little while.
Yeah.
So I got to see all the progress of where you went from to where you are now. And so it was interesting.
It's been a wild ride.
Right. So tell us a little bit first about how you got into the tattoo industry, how you started, what made you get into it.
So I've been drawing and doing art my whole life. I originally started out being a stay-at-home mom, and I was actually running my own charcoal portrait business.
Okay.
And then I went to actually get a memorial piece for my grandma. I showed the guy my art because he was there and he had that's why I chose him.
Right.
And he's like, "Have you ever thought about tattooing?" And at the time I was like, "Nope." I was like, "I just get the tattoos."
Right.
But I started asking him more about it, and I looked into it when I got home, and the very next day I got my portfolio together and I went and applied for an apprenticeship.
Nice.
And picked it up. And then the second I held a machine, I was like, "Well, I'm going to be that old woman doing this until I am old and gray."
Old and gray and tatted
Yep,
up?
tatted up.
Okay. So it started out with you drawing your own stuff and
Yep.
then kind of going to the artist and saying, this is what I wanted. Now, did they take your exact design since it was original?
We kind of worked together on it. He actually didn't end up finishing the piece because I moved.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Tends
So
to happen, right?
yeah, either the client or the artist.
Right. So that's how you kind of got started. You started your apprenticeship. Now, when you did your apprenticeship, was it at I'm assuming it was at a shop.
Yeah, so I was actually in upstate New York at the time. So a very small town shop. There was only 2 other artists at the time when I started, and there ended up being about 4 or 5 when I left.
Wow, okay.
But yeah, went in there. It was a little bit unique of a situation. My previous marriage, we were stationed up in upstate New York there.
Okay.
So we were only there for about 9 months. So when I went in for the apprenticeship, typically they want you to commit for a while.
Right.
So it was kind of cool because my mentor took a leap of faith.
Yeah.
and did that with me. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right, so that's interesting. So
Yeah.
you were there for about 9 months. You did an apprenticeship for about 9 months.
Yeah.
And then I'm assuming you transitioned here?
Yep. So I transitioned here, went searching, and I knew when I got here that there was a chance that I would have to kind of redo an apprenticeship.
Okay.
Just because usually they're longer than that. And they threw me in pretty quick when I was in upstate New York.
Really?
Yeah, it was like begging for me to start. They're like, let's do a special. I was like, it's only been a couple weeks. I'm so scared. But jumped in and didn't look back. So
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So then you transitioned down here. You're here. Did you apprentice here or did you just jump right into it?
no, so I actually, locally here in Brighton, I went into a studio, and I think just based on my artwork and kind of where I had gotten to during the duration of my apprenticeship,
Yeah.
he felt like I had a skill set enough to start. So I just kind of started out slow, I think, with a lot more of your base tattoos.
Okay.
More of your walk-in and
Yeah.
smaller stuff, and I think that kind of helped me grow.
So you kind of did like a whole 360 because
Yeah.
the small stuff, and now we're back to some of the small stuff, right?
Right.
So that's an interesting story.
Yeah.
So you got thrown into it. Now, how long were you at that shop for?
So 9 months for the apprenticeship, and then I actually stayed at that shop for about just shy of 4 years.
Okay.
So I was there for a while.
So you went from that, and then is that when you opened up your own?
No, so I actually transitioned to another private studio.
Okay.
I had kind of followed somebody in the industry that I felt like we aligned pretty well. That ended up not working out the way I had planned.
Well, because you're in your own shop now.
Yep, but everything happens for a reason. So,
Right.
But yeah, I was with that guy for about 2 years.
Okay, and then that's when you kind of...
And then that's when I
branched
took
out from there
over.
and took
Yep.
over. Okay. Tell us a little bit about your style, like, because you said that you started an
Yeah.
apprenticeship, that you had you doing some special stuff, you said.
Yeah.
And then you went into here, moved to here,
Yeah.
Michigan. That's here, in case y'all don't know. Which is Brighton,
Yep.
Michigan, which is, you guys are kind of like center of Michigan, aren't you? Kind of like,
Yeah, give or take. We're just, I don't know, just a little bit north of Ann Arbor.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, the Michigan people out there, everybody knows where Ann Arbor is. So you were there for 4 years, and then you were at the private studio for 2 years.
Yep.
And then you went to your own studio. Between those times, where did you figure out what your style was?
I think I kind of went into it. I started out as a charcoal portrait artist.
Right.
So recreating stuff that are meant to look like photographs.
Okay.
With that background, I feel like I clung pretty heavily to black and gray just because that's what feels most natural to me.
Sure.
So black and gray realism, I am in the last like year or two, I've started to branch out into color realism.
Okay.
Just because I just love making it pop off the skin. The more I can do that, the better.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So like the color, the 3D, like the 3D realism stuff. Is
Yep.
that what, and then just regular, I'm assuming realism.
Yeah, anything with contrast, I think with having charcoal as a background, it's, I mean, yes, you have gradients, but
Yeah.
that is such a heavy black and white contrast. So
Yeah.
anything I can do to get that on skin is
Gotcha.
where it's at.
You ever play with some of them watercolor tattoos?
I feel like the first shop when I moved here, because it was a very walk-in friendly studio,
Yeah.
I got a lot in my repertoire. So I feel like I've had the opportunity to do a lot of styles.
Yeah.
But those are the ones that I've kind of honed in on the most.
Okay. So the realism, the color realism, and all that.
And I
in
love
that realm.
blending styles.
Blending?
Yeah, like I'm sure some artists will frown upon that, but like taking traditional or neo-traditional and throwing it in with some realism, just to
Okay.
be able to kind of blend out styles to make it a little
Yeah.
different.
So it's like a blended family.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. So that's kind of your style.
Yeah.
And then how long have you been here at
Monaree, yeah.
How long have you been at Monaree?
So we opened actually last May. So,
okay, so
this will be almost a year and a
Almost
few
year.
days. Yep.
Yeah. So you haven't been open that long.
Yeah, we moved to this location though in January.
January.
Yep, and that's
Okay.
when I added 3 more people to our team so that we could be in a bigger location.
Right. So you were at another place, and then you got this new place.
Yeah, we were at max capacity. I didn't have room.
Right. Well, because that place was
It was
you said more private, so
tiny,
that,
yes.
So you could only.
It was like 900 square feet. It was tiny.
Yeah. So touching a little bit on that without going into too
Yeah.
much crazy detail, because I know there was a lot that was there.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of a hiccup through that last shop you were at that caused
Yeah.
you to open up your own shop.
Yeah.
Maybe some other artists have gone through it. Maybe some others
Yeah.
haven't. I was just wondering if you'd be maybe free to share that little story
Yeah.
about how you end up having to open up your own shop, because I felt like you kind of were thrown in that position from the
Yeah, I
situation.
mean, I've always wanted to open up and own my own studio because I had
Yeah.
already done, my charcoal portrait business. So being able to work with people and do what I love is pretty awesome.
Right.
But I was kind of waiting until a little bit better timing, right? Financially, all those things that you try to line up. But yeah, when I got over there, basically when I left the first studio I was at here, I had followed this artist that I felt was very passionate about what he did. And I feel like sometimes that kind of fizzles out in our industry. Or you get complacent with what you're doing and you're level, right?
Yeah.
I saw a lot of drive coming from the person that I had followed. So unfortunately, after we had moved, after about 6 months, I watched that passion just kind of steadily decline.
Okay.
And I felt it like sneaking into my artwork and my morale when I was at work. And
Yeah.
I never want to not want to be at work.
Right.
Right. So yeah, but without too nitty gritty detail,
Yeah.
bills weren't getting paid. Previous owner got evicted, and it was either open up your own shop or go find another one to work at. And I just felt like going to a different shop would be replacing different problems with different problems. So I felt like I wanted to open my own, and I guess it kind of forced me. It worked out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's kind of like you were thrown to the wolves, but you kind of ended up leading the pack after.
Yeah, and what was nice is the people that were at the last studio, we were all a really good team. We had all worked together
Yeah.
previously, so they stuck with me,
Right.
stayed with us through that, and it's been nice. Yeah.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, I've seen a couple of the artists that have, I think there's one of them that was at Autumn.
Yep.
There's Autumn, and then there was
Connor.
Connor.
Yep.
Okay. What is the next steps for you as an artist? Because, I mean, you've kind of done a few things all at one time, per se.
Well, and back to back. So when we opened the last shop,
Yeah.
when we opened, I had to file everything, but because this is a different location,
So did
we
do it?
turned around and we did it all again. So we had to go through the plan review, all that stuff. So it's been a whirlwind.
So it's kind of like opening up two businesses at one time.
Yes, within the same year.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I think the biggest thing, my idea for when I opened here was that I feel like I want to be more than just a tattoo shop.
Okay.
Right. So yes, of course, people come here and they get tattoos and piercings and stuff like that.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I also want to encourage, other artists in our industry to grow as well. So I do want to be able to host guest artists here, stuff like that. I know we want to go talk. We just joined the Brighton Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
So
Oh, yeah, I
we
think I
want
read
to,
something
yep.
the other time you talked about that.
So we want to go and talk, even as some of the schools, I feel like I got discouraged a lot as a kid to pursue art.
Really?
Yeah, so I want to be able to, not by like my parents, but people around me,
Right,
adults,
right.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to, I guess, let's say we have a local artist or they're in high school even.
Right.
Allow them to come put their artwork up and sell it for a month and be able to showcase their skill set so they know they can make a living doing this.
Right. Okay.
So little things like that.
Yeah. So the next step is kind of reaching out to community
Yeah.
community awareness and
Yeah.
organizations and stuff, and possibly putting art in here and selling it and
Yeah.
stuff like that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So as of now, you got what, 5 artists, 4 artists?
Yep. So we got Connor, Sammy, 5, and then me.
So 6 total.
Yep.
And then your husband's more of the piercer.
Yep.
Okay. For those of you who don't know, his name is Billy, and he's actually living us from back over there or taking pictures. I'm not exactly sure what he's doing over there. He's just kind of sitting over there.
He's doing something. He's up to no good.
Yeah. I'm a little nervous, but hey, but Billy is the piercer here. We've seen a lot of stuff he pierces. He's really good. He's very informational too. So, make sure you check him out when you come in here. Let's talk a little bit about, because you guys are a husband and wife team.
Yes.
Now we have a few on our team that are husband and wife teams. Especially like Biscuit. Him and his
Yep.
wife work together. Actually, the new artist that just joined us, which is Dylan, him and his wife work together.
That's awesome.
They don't own a shop, but they work together.
still work,
Yeah,
yep.
they kind of balance it on and off a little bit because
Okay.
they got young kids still. So
Oh,
so sometimes he'll be working, she'll be working, but they do collectively work together. He's actually moving from Florida back to Evansville.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it's interesting. There's a podcast, or not a podcast, but there's a YouTube video if y'all want to check that out about the transition he did. But how has that been for you guys? Because you guys are you guys are a younger couple. So, being a younger couple,
Yeah.
a lot of these guys have been in the industry for a long time. Like Biscuit, he's been around for a long time. I think
Oh, yeah.
he's 30 years.
Oh, yeah.
So they know the ins and outs of all that stuff. But a young couple is a little different perspective.
Yeah.
1. And 2, being a female-owned tattoo
Business,
shop,
yeah.
is a little different perspective on that too.
Yeah.
Where, not to say Billy's in the background a lot, but Billy was in the background earlier doing, the paper towels. So he's a paper towel king, ripper king.
Best paper towel ripper this side of the Mississippi.
That's what he said. So he is the best paper towel ripper on this side of the Mississippi. But to be the the head of the shop here, as a female business owned, how do you think that works out for you guys as a co-parent or a co-partner?
Yeah, I think we do well. I think one thing we decided to do when we opened this was that, because we have a couple people in our family that run a business together as well. And the best advice we were given is that when you leave the door here, work stays here. Because if we're bringing that stuff home, we're bringing now our home stuff back here, right? I never want to have an atmosphere. I've been in certain shops where they are coupled up and they'll be arguing in the front and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm mortified right now. Beat me up.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been one thing, but I feel like we work out really well. He picks up where I fall short and vice versa. So it's been good so far.
Okay.
Yeah, doing well with it.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit interesting of a dynamic as far as shifting into boss mode because a lot of these people that I work with were my coworkers
Right.
beforehand. So
That's another
shifting from a
question.
coworker to a boss has been
Right.
major.
That was going to be another question I had. How do you follow that up? Like, because, you guys have worked for so long together, to change from being co-workers to
Yeah.
being the boss and having to regulate
Well, and
some
have to have
things.
that line between that.
Yeah.
I feel like obviously navigating through it, which I told all of everybody when I was hired, I was like, this is a learning curve for me.
Yeah.
Because I went from being a coworker to a boss just with a couple people working, and
Right.
now I have a staff.
Right.
So it's been a learning curve, but I feel like overall it's been a good shift.
Yeah.
I feel like the biggest hiccup has just been having to place my friendship with them on hold a little bit so that I can still be their boss,
Right.
right? If I'm only giving them friend advice versus, hey, like, let's do this as your boss, and this is what I want you to do so we can get to this point.
Yeah.
It comes across a lot differently. And I think it's also been a learning curve for everybody here as well. Because
Right.
they're adjusting to having a friendship, right?
Right.
So,
Definitely.
but I think everybody's doing a really good job with it.
That's good.
Yeah.
Good. Communication is, I think, half the battle is having communication with
Absolutely.
any type of situation.
When that
whether-
falls short, it all
Yeah.
goes it all
Right.
goes downhill.
Whether it's between, husband and wife teams to coworkers and bosses and stuff. So I
Oh,
think
yeah.
communication is 100% going to be your biggest obstacle. And if you can't communicate with your artist,
I feel like that's life.
yeah. So, but even still touching base on that a little bit, being
Yeah.
that you're a female owner of a shop, what do you think the pros and cons are of being a female-owned shop versus being one of the workers of a shop?
Yeah. I do feel like I will say 90% of the people that come in assume he's the owner. And I'm assuming just because he's a male.
Yeah.
So when I say it's mine, a lot of people are usually
Yeah.
shocked. Yep.
Do you play like the quiet role where you're like, you just let them finish and be like, oh, let
He's
me get
like,
my
yes,
boss.
it is.
Exactly what I do. Like, yeah, the boss lady is sitting right there.
But yeah, other than that, I mean, I feel like there's positive sides to it too. Obviously, getting feedback from other, Urban's Edge, like our aftercare that we carry, working with other female-run businesses. I love seeing that, especially in this industry, because it's shifting epically.
Yeah.
But naturally, there's still room to grow.
Yeah,
So, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's been pretty good so far. There hasn't really been too much negative backlash in that regard.
Well, yeah.
Too-
Cons,
too-
yeah, I got you. Yeah. Cons not as much as like negative impacts, but like the tough things for you as a female-run shop. Like you kind of said, like when people walk in, they see,
Yeah.
Billy, and they're like, hey, I want to get this, and you're like, well, let me go get my boss.
Right.
Some of those things. Do you see more people acceptance of it? Like when they walk in, they're like, oh, this is great, because you have actually a lot of female artists
Yeah.
in here. So
Well, and I brought Connor with us, right? I think as a female owner, I wanted to make sure that I was taken seriously. I know that sounds weird to say, but sometimes I've gotten responses of like being discounted for that, right?
Right.
So, yeah, I feel like other than working around the occasional, I feel like everybody's super supportive of it,
Yeah.
and proud of it. So.
Yeah, that's great. That's
Yeah.
great. It's always, you always like to hear the pros and the cons of like, versus male owned versus female owned. Not to say that there's ever boy versus girl, just the
No, but
pros and cons.
this started out a very male dominant industry.
Yeah, it very much is.
So, and I think too, everybody that's in here, especially the females, I wanted, Allison, for example, when I started working with her, she was a body piercer. Being able to train her as my apprentice and then bring her into this industry
Yeah.
was super cool, because watching women become more successful overall, not just here, but social media,
Right.
seeing that be more heavily dominated has been really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So, just touching base on that, that's great that you've gotten such a welcoming from
Yeah.
that. Because I'm sure you brought probably all of your clientele from the last couple of places
Yeah.
that you've been at, the one for 4 years and then the 2-year situation. And
Yeah.
and then the little time that you were there and then bring it over here.
Absolutely.
I don't know how far the distance is from your last place that you were open to here.
Like 10 minutes.
Okay.
It's on the other end of Brighton, so if you got on the freeway.
Miles,
How many?
Yep.
3.5 miles.
Yeah.
Wow, that's close.
No,
Okay.
yes.
So you
Literally
did-
the
so
other
it's not
end.
like you lost any clientele or gain. Well, I mean, you might have
No,
gained a little bit.
I
but-
actually feel like we're doing better here.
Yeah.
Because we were a private studio before I took over and opened my own business, the doors were shut 24/7. It was by appointment only.
Really?
So walk-ins didn't exist. When
Yeah.
you don't have walk-ins
Yeah.
and that foot traffic stops and then you all of a sudden are taking walk-ins,
Yeah.
nobody's looking to go.
Right.
So it was a very slow build, and when
Yeah.
we got here it took off, especially for piercings and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that was going to be another follow-up question there. From moving from there, how has the transition been for the clientele? But you just kind of explained that in a little bit of a nutshell there of
Yeah.
how fast it opened up. Walk-ins. Talking about walk-ins, like, because it disappeared for a while. Like,
people are still shocked when we say we take
yeah,
walk-ins.
like, I still see shops still only doing appointments, which is, for me, is crazy because shops used to be nothing but like walk-ins.
Walk-ins, yes.
And then you created your appointment there, and you were like, okay, yeah, let's do this. I'm ready. I can, when can I come back? And
Yeah.
that's how now it's call in, schedule a consultation.
Oh my gosh, yes. All of them. It's
tell
like a
your-
process.
It's
Tell
like-
your life story.
Yeah. Yeah, like tell all your ideas over the phone, and then then you kind of give a price, and then if they're like, yeah, then they put the deposit down.
Yeah.
Like you're losing all that like interaction, face-to-face interaction, and I think like you might be losing some of that confidence in some of your clientele because they're like, well, if I can't even meet you, then why would I?
Yeah,
wanna
why
go
would I
to-"
come in? Yeah.
Right.
I think there was a very big stigma that, people like didn't want to come in for a walk-in thinking that they had to get that tattoo that day.
Yeah.
Like not realizing what a walk-in really entailed. Like, didn't mean that you need to get that tattoo
Yeah.
today. But you can walk in, schedule one today,
Yeah.
talk about it today, and get everything worked out today. But, so
Yeah.
I think that's starting to pick back up. People are realizing, like, hey, I don't need to do that.
Speaking of that, come
Well,
on,
the
you
pandemic
come
too.
over here, so people can see you on the camera here. You can stand behind.
Now they
Lauren
can
here.
hear you too.
Yeah, so they know who Billy is, and not just a voice behind the camera.
He's just the voice.
So yes, speaking on that a little bit of, I think sometimes you lose that credibility as an artist to not meet with people and build that clientele. Like I get some people are very busy, some artists are very busy, but at the same time, I would think that you still want walk-ins.
Well, I think something that's important to remember, I think the one pandemic shifted everything.
A lot.
That made
A
everything change.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's important to remember that your clients are what create your job.
Right.
Without them, we don't exist.
Right.
So if we're shutting our door to people,
Right.
that's not only them as a client, but that's all those people that they would have referred.
Right.
Right? So you're losing exponential like amount of clients.
Right. That's so I'm surprised that you guys are doing the walk because you do it from a certain time to a certain time every day. Or is it
Yeah,
just certain
so
days?
Monday through Saturday, we have a shorter walk-in hour, so it's 5 hours. It's 11 to 4.
Okay.
And anybody can come in during that time. As long as you're here before 4, we'll take you. As long as it is walk-in friendly. Some people come in, they're like, back piece,
Right.
so
So 359. Remember.
No.
359 full body suit.
Just yesterday, we had a couple call in. One wanted a small tattoo. One wanted a full sleeve. Like, well, we close at 4. It's 3:15.
Yeah.
So you may get your tattoo,
But not the full sleeve.
I think your friend or your partner is going to probably have to schedule for another day. And they were like, yeah, no, we don't know if we want to do that. I'm like, well,
Yeah, that's hard.
we'll be here if
Yeah.
you change your mind.
Right. So those are your walk-in hours. Now your appointment hours go from what time to what time?
Anytime. So I wanted to make sure that I offered an environment that was lucrative for everyone.
Okay.
Because I've had my clientele pretty solid for a while now. I don't have to worry as much about walk-ins.
Right.
But a lot of these artists have just transferred from another studio or they're starting out. So
Absolutely.
they're building their clientele. So I feel like with them still building, I want them to be able to take those walk-ins, but they can also book if they want to. They could be in here at 6 in the morning and go till midnight if they wanted to.
That's a long day, but okay.
Yes, right. But any of those hours
Yeah.
work. So if I know some of our artists or some of our clients will be like, I can only come in, after 4, after
Right.
5.
Right.
They'll book outside of
Yeah.
those.
Some people work that 9 to 5 still. So you gotta book
Yeah.
outside those hours.
Yeah. So we still take appointments for that type of stuff. I think that just keeps them in a good mindset without just sitting here
Right.
doing nothing.
So they know at 4 o'clock if they don't
If
have
they
an
don't have
appointments,
anybody, they can
they
head
can
out.
go
Yep.
home. Now, do you guys have people here after, like, if somebody's here and they call and they're like, you know, like one of your artists, like, hey, I'm just gonna stick around and I'll take some extra walk-ins if they walk in?
Yeah, well, and even if we get a call before we leave and they're like, hey, I could come in at like 4:30
Yeah.
for these things, they're always welcome to stay and take them. And yeah,
And that's for piercings and tattoos.
Yeah,
right?
there'll be days
No,
where
we live here, so
she'll
he
be
does piercings
piercing
all the time.
or she'll be tattooing for, you know, another couple hours past 4.
Yeah.
And there'll be people that will still call. Be
Yeah.
like, hey, do you have availability for piercings? I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, I'm here.
Yeah.
So if you want to come up, like,
Here till 7.
come on up. Like,
Yeah.
don't say you're gonna come up and then have me waiting for you and then
Right.
you don't
Yeah.
show up.
Right. I
If
leave
you're
when
not
she
gonna show up.
leaves.
Just call me back and let me know, and that way, when she's done, we're not waiting for
Right.
them, right?
Right,
So,
because you still got life out here. You know, I know you guys
Exactly.
got kids. And, you actually travel a little bit because you have a child outside
yeah,
of the
both
states.
of us do.
So, oh,
and
you do
in
too?
different states.
Okay, so okay,
Lots
that's
of
crazy. So
lots
it's a
of
lot
running around.
There's a lot of traveling for you two. So yeah, so having those time frames is always a good thing, and
Yep.
being
That's-
punctual.
That's
is
what
also
made it.
good.
That's what made
Yeah.
it just that much easier for us to just make the decision of well,
Opening
let,
up a
let
studio.
me learn how to pierce.
Yeah.
Let's go into business together
Yeah.
because it makes us allows us to have that availability
Flexibility.
Right.
to go see our kids when we need to
Right.
instead of asking the man, hey, I need these
I need
days
this
off,
time off.
and then be like, oh, you don't got the PTO hours, you don't have this, you don't have that,
Yeah.
right? Which, you know, was a big problem before I started doing piercing, right? So
What were you doing before piercings?
I was doing fuel economy and emissions for vehicles in
Oh, okay.
Allen Park.
Oh,
Yeah, so like all the new cars that would come out,
yeah.
I'd drive them and see what they were getting for the stickers and stuff like that. So
A different world there.
yeah, just know that when you get that sticker price, that's no AC, that's no radio, that's no electricity, that's you turning the engine and driving, right? So
Nothing else.
I don't know anyone who's driving like that. So if you're not getting the miles per gallon on the sticker,
Yeah.
that's why.
Now you know.
Right. Yeah. That's crazy. Well, you went from one crazy field to another totally different
We
field.
both
so.
did.
Yeah. What were you doing before?
I was a preschool teacher before I started any of this.
up.
Yes.
Seriously?
Yes.
That's crazy. Now, did you have tattoos when you were doing teacher?
So
stuff?
no, I mean, yes, I did. My back was done, so everything was hidden.
Okay.
So occasionally when I'd wear like a tank top in the summer months and stuff like that,
Yeah.
parents would be like, "You have tattoos? When did you get those?" I'm like, "I've had those." But yeah, once I decided to do this,
Yeah.
it was like sleeve 6 months. Next.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So the teacher part was I'm assuming it was in New York.
No, so I'm from Washington State.
This is crazy. I'm learning.
Yes.
More and more. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm just outside of Seattle, Washington.
Okay.
That's where I grew up. Before I met my ex-husband, and before we got married and had kids, I was a nanny for like CEOs and stuff like that. And then I did, preschool teacher.
Completely like it's like the
Throw
world
you
of
for
like
a loop.
yeah, it's like the world of like I really don't like tattoos.
If
'Cause
you ever
back
had-
then it was like if you had tattoos you were looked like you were a peasant or something.
Well, and that's part of the reason why I didn't have visible tattoos. Because
Yeah.
when I was teaching, people would be like, oh.
You're-
I was also in a very
you're that
uppity
one.
area where I was teaching too. So yes,
You're those type of people.
I gotcha. Yeah.
I gotcha. Okay. So we got to learn a little bit about you today.
Yeah.
We always love doing these interviews and touching base with some of the artists out there, some of our pro team, because you're part of the pro team. Lauren's been on the team for a while now. I can't, what,
It's
a
been
year?
like-
Year and a half?
I think it's
2
been like
Yeah, it's been about
2.5, yeah.
Wow, it's been that long. Wow, time flies.
Yeah,
Yes, it does.
just before the pandemic or like right.
It was right when I got over to the last shop before we opened.
so, like, right
so like
before the
about two
pandemic.
and a half years.
So 2.5 years, time flies. But in case you haven't, if you didn't know, now you do. And Lauren's stationed out in Brighton, Michigan, with her husband Billy, and 5 other artists, which we named earlier. I'm not going to do it again because there's a lot of names I can't remember. But if you want, you can always go to the Instagram page.
Yep, it's Monaree Ink Body Art Studio.
You can go there, check out all their artists, click on the artist, check out their portfolio. There's a lot of great artists in here. There's one that's still apprenticing, he's doing great work too.
Sick lines.
He is a His background story is wild.
Yeah, I can only
Wild.
I can only imagine. But check them out. And if you want to hear a story, come on and I'm
we got
assuming book with
stories
them.
for days.
Yeah,
here.
do it. All the stories.
Yeah, they'll probably tell you a whole bunch of stories here. So come on in, cool people. If you're looking for piercings, this guy here, he's always doing piercings. He's always tagging us in them.
Be pierced.
Yeah, be pierced. That's it. I think he does like 75 a day. But in all honesty, come on and
All
check
of
these guys out. They've transitioned a little bit. They've gone through some ups and downs, some hiccups there, but they are still thriving and doing positive things out here and potentially doing more positive things for the community. I believe you all have a ceremony,
Yeah, ribbon
Cutting.
cutting ceremony on Friday.
ribbon cutting ceremony on Friday for the city of Brighton, right?
Yep.
For the city of Brighton. So that's going to be something exciting for them. And just come check out the shop. I mean, it's a shop, but you get to see different things and you get to help promote other people on the team for InkEnvy. But tell them your handle on IG, Facebook.
Yeah, Instagram is going to be, for mine personally, is going to be LTATS, so LTATTS 6789. And then Monaree Ink Body Art Studio for Instagram. I decided not to do a Facebook page because I have too many inboxes.
You have too many inboxes?
Yes, currently.
Too many.
She's
Oh
age discrimination on Facebook these days.
I'm being a Facebook hater right now. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
for all of us old people. That's what she says.
I'm there's some of us are TikTok people that don't do TikTok.
Hey,
So
I
I'm so
remember.
bad at
I remember the
TikTok.
MySpace day. That's how old
I'm
I
ready to go back to MySpace.
Let's do it.
I'm ready to revamp MySpace.
No algorithms.
Yeah. And then the TikTok thing that's taken over. I was ready to start my own little thing. I was going to call it the Tappy Tappy, just because it just sounds really good and people tap all the time. So I was going to call it the Tappy Tappy.
Shit, I'd probably be tapping, man.
Most people are always tapping their phone, so it just goes hand in hand. I think if TikTok goes out, that's the next thing that's going to come out is the Tappy Tappy.
That's fantastic.
Right. So, anyways, check these guys out, the ladies. There's plenty of people in here. No preference of what you want to do. If you want a female artist, they got them. You want a male artist, they got them. You want a piercer, they got them. The only thing they don't have is, what don't you have? What's left in the shop?
Laser removal?
Laser removal. They don't have that. So if you need laser removal, they don't have
But
that.
that's coming soon.
Yeah, he's going to do laser removal.
There you go.
The chameleon, jack of all trades. I'll do it all,
This-
except tattooing. If you
Yeah,
want a
no
crooked stick
tattooing for
figure, come on down.
No tattooing for him.
It's like I can do a stick figure. That's it.
A crooked one. Yeah, definitely not straight.
Where the
lines.
body's like,
Right. But he's a straight piercer.
Yes.
yes.
That's all that matters. So you can pierce it straight. That's all that matters. Tattoos is everybody's got their niche. You know yours. So
No,
that's all
yes,
that
and
matters.
it's definitely not artistic. I play. People ask me like, well, why don't you have piercings? I'm like, well, had I graduated high school and been like, yeah, I want to be a body piercer for my career, probably had all sorts of piercings.
Right.
But unfortunately, that's not what I had planned. So
No.
at this age now, I'm like, well, I mean, I could get one, but like I made it this long. Like,
Right.
I don't need to have a bunch of piercings to be a good piercer. Like,
It's, the old generation. They're like, how many holes do you need in your head? It's. My grandma always said that. It was one of her biggest lines because I have my ears pierced. And it's like, well, how many holes do you need?
Now
in
you
your
can
head?
hear me extra.
Right. So there's always something. Anyways, I'm gonna let you guys get going out of here because I know you guys closed at 4 and we've been here for a little while. But
that's
anyways,
okay.
check them out. You heard all their stuff. I don't need to repeat it. You can check us out on InkEnvy Apparel. No, I lied. It's not that anymore. It's InkEnvy Clothing on Instagram. And also you can check our magazine page out, which is InkEnvy Magazine. We got a new one coming out at the end of June. So check that out. Also, if you didn't know, we were going to be at the Indie Tattoo Expo in June also. That was what I forgot to talk about, was
The tattoo.
expos.
Oh, yeah.
You guys are doing some expos.
Yeah, we're going back to, so last year we did our first one and went to Inked in Elmira.
Okay.
And we're going to go back this year. They changed where it was. It was a little rough. It was the inaugural year last year. So
Okay.
they are working out some kinks. But hopefully it's
Aren't we all?
right.
yeah, it was a nice little town. It was a nice atmosphere.
Yeah.
Yeah, super cool.
It wasn't too crazy big.
Yeah.
Like, so we didn't get overwhelmed or anything like that. So
Dipping
very
our toes just like
people
you guys.
everywhere we went. So it was just easy to go back.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you heard it there. They're going to be at that expo. We're going to try and fit that somewhere in
Somewhere in there.
the video. Yeah, because we're going to do some editing. Instagram, we can't do it. Hey, I'm sorry. You guys.
No, they're stuck with us.
You're just going to get this late explanation of
But
expo.
Instagram, you heard it here first. Tippy tappy.
Tappy tappy.
Tappy tappy.
Not tippy tappy.
No tippy. Just tappy tappy. That's it.
I might be a little tipsy.
Yeah, right.
While
right.
we're tappy tappy.
That's when most people are scrolling. Is when they're tipsy.
You heard it here first. TikTok better watch out.
That's right. That's right. All right, guys, we're gonna sign off. Thanks for watching, and check us out on YouTube or Instagram. We'll see you.